wake up, it's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to start the day. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to spill some tea. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up.
Everybody, welcome to Wake Up with T. Oliver. I'm T. Oliver Reid, your host, and yes, you have seen me in multiple Tony Award-winning musicals on Broadway, but now you get to see me sit down virtually with friends, peers, and colleagues while we discuss Broadway, life, and beyond. So let's get to talking. Episode 10, The Man of Many Musical Talents. Not only is this man a great actor and performer and singer and teacher and musical director, by the way, he did start Broadway Inspirational Voices, he is an all-around good guy. I'm so happy that we get to sit down and talk a little bit today with the one and only Mr. Michael McElroy. You're gonna be cute. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Michael McElroy. Michael!
Hey, what's up, T?
How are you?
I'm okay. I think I'm like everybody else, starting to feel the strain of this time, but I'm grateful to be alive and to have people that even though I can't connect with closely, physically, I know that are there, and I'm trying to find some solace and understanding in this moment, and also keep myself artistically activated. So that's what I'm doing.
You are a man who is always on the go, always doing something, always busy on projects. I have found through this that I am without a doubt an introvert with extroverted tendencies, meaning like this time is good for me. Like I don't mind being around people. I love it when I have to be, but when I can be at home, how are you feeling with the solitude? And the time to just sort of like rest and think and create internally?
Well, I've been actually working more because I finished up my school year because, I teach at NYU and Tisch. Yes. And I finished up my school year 2 weeks ago. I still have some final stuff to do because, as you know, we did our last 7 weeks on remote learning on Zoom platform. And now we are looking towards what the next semester will be like and how that will unfold. So I've been working on that. The choir, we've really been actively trying to figure out how we can still stay current and support our outreach partners in the programming that we have in this platform. So that's taken a lot of work and meetings, and then we've been doing a lot of videos, and then I've been writing a lot. So my roommate, my best friend, Eliseo, he gets on me because I get up at 7, have my coffee, take a shower, then I'm literally sitting in this spot from the 8 o'clock until 5:30, working. And then we'll watch our Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime shows. Yes. And then he goes back downstairs, and then I go back to the computer until about 11:30. And then I go to bed and do it all over again.
You are doing full days.
Yeah. But I don't know how I would get through it any other way. There has to be balance, but I think about people who have partners or roommates and how challenging this time has been. But we have so many friends who not only have been by themselves, but a lot of our friends have lost their jobs and their income and potential for income for at least until next year. Yeah. And so they're dealing with another level of something. And so as one of my friends told me, sometimes you have to keep the candle burning for yourself and for other people as well. So in this moment, I want to give voice to what's going on. I want to give voice through my art, through my writing, so that when people look back at this time, they don't just see the suffering, they don't see just the lack of, but they also see some art, or hopefully something that expresses what was going on in this time besides this incredible loss.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, because there was a moment at the beginning of this that everyone was like, don't feel like you have to write your, the best novel. You don't feel like you have to do all these things. And I kept saying, it's like, yeah, that's partially true, but also don't feel like you need to just lay down for the amount of time this is going to be. It's like, this is time to, luckily it happened in spring, so do your spring cleaning. and figure out what you want the next thing to be for you, and who you want to be on the other side of this. I think it's going to be eye-opening to people who they want to be. Or like I had a conversation with someone a couple weeks ago, and like the idea of people who are walking around who don't have a faith or spirituality to hold on to in a time that you could be flailing if you don't know that there's something or someone greater than you. And like you said, those of us people who are around who are living single or living in a space by themselves and don't have any type of like true human connection, even if it's just, yeah, I saw you walk through the apartment this morning, but.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. And I'm reminded, I'm trying to bring it up, this quote that Toni Morrison has, which is talk about, this is the precise, when things are difficult and the artist, you want to kind of go, ugh, this is too hard. She has this quote about, this is exactly the time when artists should go to work. Right? It's no time to, be sad about it. This is the time when you work. This is the time when you push forward. And that can manifest in two different ways, as you said. As our friend Angela Robinson says, it can be the valley of preparation, where you're in a place of meditation and connection that's going to give birth to something in the future.
Absolutely.
Or it can be a moment of writing in your journal and it's all crap, but you just keep doing it and you keep doing something that stimulates yourself artistically, that there'll be a seed or a germ of something in it that will then give birth to something in the future. Or it could be writing the next best novel right now. But we don't give up. We don't succumb to what society sometimes says we should be, but artists are always on the front end of that, trying to, hold the mirror up to society, comment on society, live fully in society while also trying to rise above some of the things that are threatening to keep us down. And that's how we heal. That's how societies heal.
And at this point, when there's so much going on with this pause that we're in, but where it also makes it very clear for us what's happening in politics and who we can trust and who we can't trust, and what lies continue to be perpetually told to us, and how things have not been dealt with in this country. And I look, you say to people, it's like, make sure you're taking your notes, because after November, with this election that we're all voting in, we have to go about making all those other changes too, because too many things have been just we've allowed them to sort of stay in place and pretend that they're not there. We have to deal with them now.
Yeah, that's such a great point, T. It's like I'm teaching this masterclass right now in Australia for 3 weeks over the next month, and it's about slave songs, which are Negro spirituals, to gospel, contemporary gospel, to how that has found itself on the stages of Broadway. Right? So I'm thinking, how am I going to teach these Australian kids a Negro spiritual? How am I going to teach them this song, which I chose, I've Been Buked, which is from Revelations, the first piece. It's a beautiful song. I'm like, how am I going to teach them this? And so what I ended up doing was I figured out this exercise of going from taking them on this journey from being in the forests of Africa to being held captive, to being taken to a ship, to being enduring the Middle Passage, to standing on an auction block, to then going and enduring the days and nights of what it meant to work in the field. And then after they went through that and found their own understanding through the experience, then they understood the need for the song, right? And I say that to say that as I've been doing more research, post-slavery, post-Negro spiritual, every form of music in America has stemmed from the Negro spiritual, and it gave birth to the blues, to rock and roll, to jazz, to R&B, right? And it has always been the African-American response to what is going on. If you look at these musics that are created, there's always been something that's been going on in that time that the African Americans used music to respond to. Civil rights, whether it's the Black codes in the late 1890s that limited our freedoms after the Emancipation Proclamation. There were always things that we were responding to in terms of music. But there's always been this, what we're seeing now that's always been there is this messaging that has been given over and over again, and people have been drinking the Kool-Aid for so long that they can't even see that the person or the people that are giving them the message are the people that are doing them the most damage, right? And so at this point, we're at a place where we have to wake up. If we're not only, at this place in our politics, but also in the pandemic that's going on in this world. It's like the world is telling us, the earth is telling us, our lives are telling us, we got to wake up and do better.
Yes. Yes. See, okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so that people don't, again, so that people don't read things like, oh, you know, he's just tall and handsome and can sing. It's like, no, Michael is doing it all. Michael is an intellectual, and he is making music. And I mean, for me, it's like, again, because you are doing so many things, not you are an educator, and you are running an organization, and you are musical director at this organization, and you're still a performer as well. And not only that, you have a Tony Award for excellence for Broadway Inspirational Voices. I mean, for you, and this is your 25th year with.
You're in 26 now, yeah.
26.
25th anniversary this year. Yeah.
What gave you what was the idea that you had to get this started, and how have you continued over all these years? Because I know there was a moment in there that there was some hubbub because someone else was trying to do something else with.
Yeah.
But how have you been able to continue these 26 years?
Oh wow.
Being only 32 yourself.
Right, exactly. When did you move here? When did you move to New York?
I moved here I want to say I was officially here in '98, but I was those 2 years before then I was back and forth auditioning for stuff and then going into the regions. But yeah. I
moved here in 1990, and it was the height of the AIDS epidemic. So it was that time when you would see someone and then you'd see them a month later and they were 90 pounds and could barely walk. And it was, and we were losing mentors and leaders within our community and just fellow castmates and musical directors. I mean, we're just losing everybody. And it was like, there's the one thing to be said for us as actors is as artists, and I'm talking about across Broadway, from the stagehands to the musicians to the wardrobe, I mean, everybody, we know how to band together when we need to help each other, right? And at that time, there was no Broadway Care Executive Fight Days. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary as well. But we needed to do something to feel like we were giving back, or at least trying to take control in some way over something that was absolutely out of our control, right? And so Broadway Cares and Equity Fights AIDS, which were two organizations, were formed in that time, right? And so we were doing stuff. We were doing cabarets, fundraisers, all of those things, but there was nothing happening for our spirits, for our souls, for our, to give us some kind of ability to voice or to express this loss, or to make peace with it in some way, or to grapple with it. And so I knew, for me, growing up in church and having made my own journey through finding my own path to what is greater than myself, that this music, gospel music, once again, it has come from slave songs to present. What is it doing? It carries a certain power with it that is an integral part of the music, right? And there is a hope, there is a voicing of pain, of sorrow, but always a belief that there is something better, and that if I hold on, then that there's something better coming, and I have to have that kind of faith. And I wanted to do something in the theater community where I brought together 11 friends of all different backgrounds, because diversity was an essential part of that. But I wanted to show that not only could all people sing this music, but that this space could welcome everyone. And it started to bring into community, in our Broadway community, people who had not gone in a church or not been to any kind of event like this in a long time, because they had been told there was no place for them.
Absolutely,
right?
Yes.
And so what has kept me there is that the music and what it has done to transform my life, the people in the choir, our lives, the idea and the concept and the belief in the mission of giving back, of being in service. So much of what we do as actors is focused on self, and we have to be, on getting stronger skills, on what you wear to go in. Is the person going to give me the job? If they don't, I got to deal with and navigate that. And I'm in a Broadway show, next day it's closed. What am I doing? So much of our gifts that we've been given are focused on things that are ultimately out of our control, right? That it was essential that there be a space where we could sing and use our gifts just to fill those empty spaces that the business sometimes can take out of you, right? And in doing so, give back to our community through the concerts we do, but also then expand that to the outreach programs that we have with the different partner organizations that we work with, where we center music and the creation of music and the power, the healing power of music in our mission with our programs. So that's what's kept me, because there's always been some new thing I wanted to do, from concerts to then outreach programs to then Broadway Our Way, and bringing those two things together to, working with artists that have come to us that wanted to work with us. It's just been an unending blessing. So, and as long as that's the case, I'm gonna be there.
Yeah. Well, and with what you just said, that brings us so many questions I want to ask. I mean, one is like because you have been able to over these years continue to have diversity in this choir in a way that a lot of Broadway shows don't. I mean, you look at your choir and it looks like the city. It looks like what we hope this nation looks like in small towns and large cities. The fact that you've been able to do that is just unbelievable. I want to know a little bit. I want to ask you about faith. You're talking about it as you speak, but what part that plays in your life, and how you manage your way through New York City. Mm-hmm. Let's start there. Where because again, like you touched on, like there are like 7 things. It's like I should have had my pen up because I know I wanted to ask him, but now they're all right here. But for someone who was raised in a spiritual home, religious home. Did you say at one point was your mother a music director at?
My grandfather started my church. My stepfather took it over. My mom, my grandmother, my uncle, my sister, my brother, and I were the musicians at my church. Now my nieces and nephews are all the musicians. And my mom still plays. She still plays every Sunday. She'll be 80 this year, and she still plays every Sunday.
Amazing. So for you, I mean, and like you said, so many people have been pushed away or shunned in some way. So I always try and say, like, whether you're looking at it as the universe or a spiritual connection to a higher power, or if you call him by his name, God, or however you look at it, what is the connection to faith, a higher power, to Michael, and how you navigate through this world?
Well, wow. The thing that comes to mind is being raised in an environment, and it wasn't that there was a messaging that was anti-gay per se in my church. There wasn't. There were comments here and there, but I always knew growing up and knowing from a young age that if that part of myself was known, then I would not be loved. I wouldn't be accepted. And because there were examples of gay people in my life that took me under the wing and kind of, helped to foster my musical abilities and really were great mentors. But I kept grappling with this idea of what God was and who I knew in my deepest core I was made to be. So I was grappling with what I was told God was and what I knew I was, and that it was never a choice for me.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I graduated from college and moved to New York that I really had to address it.
Yeah.
And really come to peace with the fact that I was made exactly as I was meant to be. And I could not fathom that God put me on this planet and gave me the things that make me uniquely me to make a mistake in the creation of who I was. Yeah. I couldn't fathom that. So then once I was able to make peace with that, then the next 10, 15 years became about not separating Michael, the person who's a BIV person, from Michael, who is the gay person living in New York, and trying to say that one is not better or worse than the other, and that they're all the same person. And that took a long time. That took a longer time. But faith for me, and believing that there is a plan for my life and that there is, an entity that is greater than me, that loves me and doesn't always give me what I want, but has guided my life and has blessed me. And that as long as I have been present and worked hard and did the best that I could, everything that was meant for me was for me. I could not fathom my life without that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I could not fathom that. And not to say that people don't exist and have happy lives without it. That's just not my
Yeah.
road. My road has been every single one of us is here for a specific reason.
Mm.
And for me, being connected to something that's greater than me, I don't always like it, right? But knowing that I'm connected to something greater makes, even these difficult, challenging times a little bit more of a conversation and a grappling with, but knowing that ultimately there's something that I'm going to learn, in some way I'm going to grow from this experience.
Right. Okay. And well, I'm going to segue away from, because we got to talk about like the fact that BIV had got the Grammy nomination, that you have the Tony Award for Excellence and all those things, but connecting all of those parts of Michael's, like, what are some things that you miss about New York from like the 90s to 2000? Because the city has changed so much. I mean, again, like when I first moved here, there was Twilo, and you could go to the Roxy, and there were Big Cup. You could sit in there for hours and barely have a cup of coffee and watch people all day long.
Yes, yes.
Like what? I mean, what are some of the things about the city of those times that are no longer here that you're like, oh, I wish this was back, or I wish we hadn't lost this so quickly?
I loved, I was one of those chorus boys that I loved. Like we were back when I first started working on Broadway in the early 90s, you had two schedules. It was Monday, Tuesday to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to Saturday, or Tuesday to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to Saturday, and Sunday matinee. That was it. Those were the two schedules. That was it. And every show I was on was always on the Monday through Saturday. So we'd finish our Saturday night show, everybody go home, take their showers, and then we meet out at the Roxy or somewhere and go dancing. And I loved that sense of, because I didn't know that world. Yeah. I was innocent when I first moved to New York. I still am. But I was such an innocent in that I didn't know what the gay community was. I only knew what the gay theater community was. Yeah. Right? And so having that sense of community outside of the theater, introduced me to a whole different world of people and experiences, but it was all connection based, meaning that if you wanted to meet somebody, you had to go out. You had to go and see them. And then once you saw them from across a crowded room, like some enchanted evening, you had to actually go over and talk to them. And if the energy wasn't there, then it was like a bump, let's just move on. But now this disconnect that we have from connecting as human beings has led to this kind of, it's no longer about the energy that you create together, which is that energy that you have when you meet someone and you have that kind of thing. Yeah. It's more about a drive-through order in. If you are my hamburger with French fries and no pickle, and if that's what I'm looking for. So if you are that, then okay, let's see what we can do. But it's not about, oh, let's see what this connection is and what we can create together. Yeah. And so I miss that sense of community, that you needed connection in order to know how to interact with other people. So I missed that. I missed the community of, when I moved here, all of the gay world, existed between, 14th and 23rd Street on 8th Avenue, right? Yes. It's now much more spread out, which is great. What else do I miss? I just miss that there was a sense of innocence and fun about it. And it was all about getting to know people. And that doesn't really exist in that same way anymore. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, it's amazing to me because and we'll talk, because we are both Fire Island Pines, summertime, beach, the ocean, and everything. Even out there, like when you're at low teas, like you're talking to your friends, but so many people are still looking down at phones, as opposed to in this place that should be so open and inviting. And you should be able to have a conversation and a connection with people, whether you know them or not. You still see so many people who are looking at their phones at the boy who's standing right next to them, as opposed to looking at him and saying, hey, how are you?
Yeah, there's a study that's been done that says that now this new generation, they don't go out to bars and clubs to meet people. They go out only to hang out with their friends. They only use their apps to meet people, right? So you're at low T or whatever, it's about being with your friends, even though the person that you might want to connect with could be, like you're saying, but that's that's just not the way they engage. Whereas for us, it was about, let's go out to meet people, right? And even if, most of my community of friends for almost 25 years were all people that I met out. You know what I mean? And some of them are still that same core group. But it's this app thing
Yeah.
of like, you know, it is there's nothing wrong with it, but it has become the rule and not the exception, and it has
Absolutely.
now
Yeah.
led to a disconnect from ourselves and from what it means to have social skills to meet and to
Yeah.
talk to.
Absolutely. Wait, a question. So, and how do you at NYU and in teaching, how do you deal with that with people who are of an age that's all of their life, and when you have to, when you're in school for acting and you have to have these connections with people and you're working with people in class daily and they don't ever want to put down their phones, or is and with that, it's like, is there something that you wish you could shake them and say, you have to remember, you have to have this before you leave the school?
Well, I think the difference in teaching now than it was when we were coming up is teachers, especially in theater training, they taught the craft. They were not so interested in the student as a human being. It was about, this is the craft and you need to learn it.
Yes.
But you also came into those spaces with certain life skills because we didn't have all the technology. So we just were socialized in a different way.
Yes.
Right? So now, in teaching the craft of artistic process and in artistic training, you must also teach life skills. You must also teach that, you know, it doesn't matter how you feel, you have a job to do. And your job cannot be based on how you feel. Trust me, 8 shows a week, you don't feel like it. But when you sign in at that stage door, that is a contract that
Yes.
you're going to go out and give 150% of what you have to give and tell that story. And that is a craft you have to learn. No one had to teach me that because I've been doing that all the way through school. And I'd grown up knowing that you, especially being a person of color, being, you have to be working 10 times harder. You have to work at your full capacity all the time. There are no excuses. You know what I mean? There were just things that I learned that I just understood because of the way we were socialized. And so now you have to integrate that into your teaching process.
And how do you do that? Because again, your curriculum and your class schedules are already so full that now you have to add in another 3 or 4 hours of class a week to prepare people on life in a way that they should have already come across from 10th grade to senior year in high school. And by the time they get to your program, you know, the dating someone, breaking up, having your heart broken and crying, or loss of something, or just that the excitement of getting that piece of paper saying you've been congratulations, you're going to NYU this fall. And to never, for some reason, they don't have these experiences anymore. So now it's like everything is just about a feeling and not a, you have to do this because. And for me, it's like, I wonder if part of it that is like, we've gotten to a place where everybody gets a trophy. Because everybody ain't good.
Well, but I see, but then also you have to understand that this new generation, what I understand is that instead of being angry about it, I have to, which I'm not, I have to say, this is how they've been socialized. So instead of me beating my head up against a wall, trying to make them learn it like I learned it, they're not me. They're not my generation. They are a generation that has been raised on technology. And what that technology has done is taken away a certain skill of processing, right? For me, I call it my card catalog theory. It's like if you wanted a book in our generation, you had to walk to the library, you had to have your card, you had to go to look at the card catalog, you had to go find it on the shelves, you had to go get it, you had to check it out, and then you had to bring it back. So our minds were process driven. Right? Now you have a computer, you hit a button, right? And we grew up, this generation was growing up at a time where we grew up with the teacher was right. And our parents supported the teacher and society supported the teacher. Now it's a different thing where parents will fight a teacher to protect, you know what I mean? It's a stand in front of them. And then you add to that, you know, the everybody gets a trophy, whereas we were raised, okay, you didn't win. Next time work harder, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's certain things that failures or losing teaches a certain kind of resilience that we know we need for this business.
Yes, for sure.
Because even for us, we dream of being on Broadway, but no one teaches you how to stay on Broadway once you get the show. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that opening night is glorious and you've gotten there. Now you got to do 8 shows a week, 50 weeks a year. Nobody teaches you how to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's certain things that because we were raised a certain way, we just knew how to adapt.
Mhm.
They haven't been raised that way. And also they've been raised when they're inundated with so much information, so much all the time. There has to be a certain amount of desensitizing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're battling a bunch of different things. So in my class, usually the first 5-10 minutes I take to say, okay, how are we today? And I'll get a range of responses.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's, I feel crappy because of what happened, in Georgia to this black man jogging down the street. Okay, well, let's talk about it,
Mhm.
right? And then I say, okay, so you don't feel like it today. Okay, so let's see how you can start from where you are and engage the work and see where you go.
Mhm.
Right? Because that's the beauty of what we get to do is if you start from where you are in a place of openness, even if I'm in a crappy mood, I'm going to start from here. If you stay open to the material, to the music, to the melody, to the song, to the dance, it will take you somewhere.
Yes.
Right? And that may be a part of the rehearsal process, but it teaches you, yeah, I got to start from where I am. And I may not say hello to every person on my way into the call board because I'm not in the mood.
Exactly.
But by the time I hit that stage,
You're in it. You're done. You're there, 100%.
I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So it's teaching them slowly those tools and layering them on and helping them to see how they relate to being an artist, but more importantly, how to be a human being and to have empathy and curiosity and want to be curious about other people and their lived experiences instead of what the world is teaching us right now, which is if you're different from me, you're the enemy, you are the person that I should look down on, or it's your fault that I don't have what I should have. I mean, it's just teaching us a bunch of things that are the antithesis of what it means to be an artist.
Yeah, for sure. Did you know earlier on in your career that education teaching would be a part of your CV? Like it was, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I know that I want at some point do the teaching thing. And at NYU and how do you love it as much as I think you probably do?
My mom was a school teacher at the same school for over 35 years. I had no intention of being a teacher ever. But when the opportunity came, it felt exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was raised to do, being raised in the church and also just a part of just the fabric of my family and what we believe is in service, is in giving back. Some of that is in the church, being the first family of the church is, your time is not your own. It's like you give back, you mentor. I played for Sunday school. I taught Sunday school classes. I played for the children's choir. I sang in the children's. I mean, it was just expected that you give back. So though I love being able to go to a church up here in Harlem and just sit and enjoy the service, as opposed to Michael, you have to. Service and giving back, I've learned to do in other ways through BIV and our outreach programs, but also through teaching and mentoring the next level and passing on the understandings, the craft, the life experiences that I've had to help them to develop and find their own voice. Not for them to walk my path, but to serve as an example of a path.
Yes.
And also to give them the tools to be able to know how to walk their own path.
No question for you, because you mentioned being able to go and sit in church in Harlem and just listen. Are you able to do that? Because again,
yes.
with your brain, so you're telling me that you'll go sit in the church and you'll hear a harmony and you're like, wait a minute.
Oh yes, I will have a fleeting whisper of a millisecond. Ooh, I'd like to, and then it's gone. Because when I say that, that's how I grew up. And my mom, everybody in my family, that was my life until even when I went to college and I come back for the summers, I still had to go to church every Sunday. I still had to play for the youth choir. I still had to sing in the choir. I still had to sing solos whenever my grandmother was involved in politics. If there was an event going on, I had to go sing. It was just that thing that I'm grateful for. But once I could decide my own fate, I direct BIV. I teach students. I don't need to do no more than that. I'm good. Good.
What are some of the organizations that BIV works with, so that we can make sure that people know how you're helping others through Broadway Inspirational Voices?
We this will be our 9th year with Ronald McDonald House, New York, and what we do there, our program is called Songs in the Key of Me, and we match a Broadway composer with one of the children living in the house who's battling pediatric cancer. And they meet once or twice at the house. This year we're doing it all virtually, but at the house. They meet and get, the child is there with the composing team and the parents, and they just kind of talk to them and see what they love, what their hobbies are, all this, what it means to be a child, a kid. And then the composing team goes away and they write a song based on their conversations. Then I choose the choir members who learn the song, and then all the songs come together. We invite all the families living in the house and all the children, and then we bring each of the children up who has a song written about them. We introduce it, and then we premiere the song for them there. And this is, like I said, last year was our 40th song, and it was also the 40th anniversary of Ronald McDonald House, New York. And to see these kids light up when they hear stuff that they talked about being set to song, and it's a fulfilling experience for us, for the composers. And then the other one we have is with the Covenant House, New York, which is home for homeless and trafficked youth. And we have the same program, Songs in the Key of Me, there, but we also have a monthly BIV at the COV, and it's a monthly thing, anything from dream boarding, vision boarding, to learn the choreography from Hamilton, to open mic night, to poetry slam, to just that we let that population of young people know there's a group of people who are here for them and are not going anywhere. So whether they show up or not, we will always be there for them. So we have that goes yearly, our year. And then we do the Songs in the Key of Me to prepare for their big gala that they do every year. And we premiere the songs that we match. This year we did a national because it was a virtual gala. So we matched kids from Texas at the Covenant House there with kids here, and someone played the cello, someone sang, they co-wrote it with one of our alums from the Covenant House. And we created music that way, so yeah.
Well, you are truly an inspiration.
Oh.
Thank you for sitting down with me.
Oh, please, anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael McElroy.
Wake up, it's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to spill the tea. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the morning. Wake up, the day is dawning. Wake up, it's time to spill the tea. So everybody's gotta wake up, wake up.